Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the third round of Apex Rear Wing's 9th season. Apologies for the delay in getting tonight's broadcast underway, but rest assured we are more than excited about tonight's action. My name is Alistair Schmidt, but most people call me Stairs, and it is my absolute pleasure to throw over to our commentary duo of Liam Harrison and Matt Dunlop.
Thank you very much, Stairs. This is Liam, also known as Mad Bird. We are here just outside Norwich at the Snetterton circuit, and I'm joined in the commentary box once again by the head of the Greg Turra Appreciation Society, Matty Dunlop.
G'day, Mad Bird, and g'day to all the folks watching on at home. Good to have your company once again. We are here at Snetterton for round 3 of season 9 of Apex Rear Wing in the Super Tourers, and this promises to be an absolute crack over race, as they all are, and I do say that every single race. But from practice results so far, you will see that the top 7 cars are within 1 second of each other in terms of lap time. So we know that qualifying is at least going to be very, very close, and that's going to lead to some really, really tight racing, Mad Bird.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got Phil at the top of the timesheets in practice, but this is how the points currently stand after round 2. So Ziras holds a lead of 6 points over Berto, with Sam Smith third place with 37 points. Brenton Foley, surprisingly considering he finds himself uncomfortable in these cars, in third with 31 points. Phil, currently leading the timesheet, is down in 5th, 25 points, with Decimage a late whatever the opposite of entry is for tonight, and Roadhog in 7th, Netherelmian in 8th, Koofblantics 9th, and Zarlingir rounds out the points for the top 10.
Yeah, so I've got a few sort of interesting positions on that list there as we move into the qualifying session. So it's a 10-minute session here, and a point is scored for the pole position getter, so that's always a very lucrative spot to get. Unlimited laps, unlimited sort of runs in the 10 minutes. It's not a shootout that we've used in the past, and this determines the grid for race 1, with race 2 being a reverse grid based on the results of the first race. So they're just peeling out of the pit lane now for what I think is a warm-up session, and we'll be getting underway for qualifying shortly.
Yeah, we've had to mess around with the sessions a tiny bit due to the delay in getting started, but we will obviously get there. I'm seeing some dramas happening on my other monitor. We are, of course, at the Snetterton 200 track, which is not technically the accurate historical version that they would have raced in 1996, but it's the closest we've got with what we have on offer in AMS. So here is our entry list. We've got Resist and Zarlingir. Zarlingir, a late exit for tonight. He's outside Brisbane. Goofball and Berto. Ziras and Netherelmian for the Outworld Racing team, both in tonight. Tyrrell and Sam Smith. Tyrrell now in the Datsun 501 rather than the BMW. Bagsy will be a late entry coming in after qualifying. Decimage again not racing tonight. Brenton Foley and Roadhog there. And that rounds out technically our entry list. However, we do have a couple more people. We do have Greg Turra, as we saw last week, in the Volvo, and we've also been joined by Fruity Ping in the Clinic 66 BMW, which has an interesting livery, Matty.
It does, and I don't want to dwell on it too much for the sake of ruining surprise, so just keep an eye on it for when we see it going on track. Speaking of going out on track, the green light is on, the session has started, and Sam Smith in the Tin Shed Racing Peugeot will be the first car to lead them out onto the racing surface as they all go around to get a little bit of heat in those tyres, get some heat in those brakes, and start putting in some quick laps.
That's correct. So that you can just see there, we had on the screen was Tyrrell in his new vehicle. He was having a lot of trouble getting to grips with the BMW, especially around this circuit with a lot of curved braking zones. Even Ziras, who, as we all know, is on the verge of being an alien, he was struggling with the braking in that BMW. So Tyrrell has switched to a front-wheel drive Nissan. So hopefully, or Datsun, do apologise. He wanted that distinction known. And we do see here on the screen Fruity Ping's car.
Just having a little bit of an excursion off into the grass there, getting to grips with how that thing handles, and he'll be getting very comfortable with that very soon. And hopefully we'll be able to see that car putting in some quick lap times. We know these BMWs are fast because Ziras and Brenton Foley have been blazing around the last couple of tracks already. Brenton Foley, of course, as he said earlier, not being super comfortable with these cars by his own admission, but still going pretty quickly.
Yeah, very quick indeed. We've now got Sam Smith just crossing the line to start his flying lap, and it will be the first flying lap that we will have here at the Snetterton Racing Circuit in that Peugeot, coming around the first corner around Riches and heading on down towards the Montreal hairpin.
So Montreal, the only real difference between what the track that they would have raced in the 1996 season. Normally this would just be a straight 90-degree right-hander onto the Bentley straight, which Sam Smith finds himself onto now. Montreal hairpin is there as a result of the redevelopments that happened in the 2000s. So he's just ripping down the Bentley straight at the moment. This is being a very, very fast, power-hungry track. Coming in towards a very quick left-hander by the name of Brundle before a very short and sharp right-hander that he's tripped up there a little bit into Nelson. So now he's making his way down to the bomb hole corner, which is another very quick right-hand kink, on his way down to Coram. So Coram, as you're about to see, folks, is an extremely long right-hand corner. You have to get your grip, your suspension set up perfect to be able to carry a lot of speed through here. And then all of a sudden you've got to jump on the brakes for the deceptively tight Murray's there. There's very little runoff there, and you're going to see quite a few guys dipping wheels into the grass, especially into the early stages of the race. And he's going to come around now to cross the finish line to set the benchmark lap for this session, and it's going to be a 1 minute 14.139.
That is a bloody quick lap, judging by the times we were having in practice. And as I say that, Ziras has eclipsed it by half a second with a 1:13.6, and Berto has then eclipsed that by 0.3 of a second with a 13.3. So never mind what I said. Apparently it wasn't a bloody quick lap at all. It was about a second slower than what Berto is capable of doing. So just goes to show how quick some of these guys are.
It was still pretty quick, but the lap that Berto and Ziras put in was bloody incredibly quick. So that's sort of set the benchmark now for this qualifying session. We've got 6 3/4 of a minute to go. And there's a lot of track space here. There's only about 11 cars on the field at the moment as Brenton Foley's rotating down at the Nelson bend and he's pulled into the pit lane. We're just seeing Berto going around the Datsun of Tyrrell now. That's a new car for Tyrrell that he's trying to get comfortable with, switching from rear-wheel drive, I think, in the BMWs to the front-wheel drive Datsun. And that'll be a little bit of a learning experience because obviously there's quite different characteristics in how those cars behave, particularly under braking and through cornering.
Yeah, for sure. We've just got Ziras coming around the last corner and onto the main straight to finish his lap. He was up by about 0.2 of a second through the last corner, but he was also sideways through that corner, and so obviously did not improve on his lap time there.
He didn't punch for time there. I think he actually got a track cut because no time came up when he crossed the line. So he did get a track cut there. So that's something else that drivers have to be wary of, is not going too far over the white lines that surround the racing surface because that will invalidate their racing lap time. And during a race, I think there's a certain amount of strikes you get before you have to serve a drive-through penalty.
As far as I'm aware of, it's 3. It's usually 3 strikes and then a penalty. We did up that for the first round at Silverstone. The Silverstone International layout because the track cuts around there were quite ridiculous. But since then, I believe we're back to the standard 3 strikes and then you're out. Phil has crossed the line about 15 seconds ago to record his first proper lap time, which is good enough for 3rd at the moment. He's about a 10th shy of his brother Ziras' time, so he'll be wanting to improve. He knows that he is well and truly the match of Berto and Ziras on single lap pace. He's just got to find a way to pull it out.
He was looking pretty good in the last race down at last round, down at Oulton Park. He was able to match the pace with his brother Ziras at the front of the field. So we know he's quick over qualifying and he can be pretty quick over race pace as well. Berto was up in the 2nd sector by a few hundredths of a second, but he was down in the 3rd. So we know that Berto at the moment is losing time in that 3rd sector over Ziras and Resist behind him. So that can be something to look out for as we get into the dying stages of this session.
We've just got Resist improving on his own lap time by 0.02 of a second, which is not enough to improve his starting position as yet. Who else? Goofball Antics currently sitting in 4th, which he'd probably be quite happy with. Didn't have a particularly good outing last time out at Oulton Park.
He's only half a tenth of a second off the back of Resist as well, so he has definitely got a chance to improve that time. Not this lap though, he's up a tenth of a second on his personal best, and a little bit more time on the session best at the moment. So he may be able to improve in the final sector a little bit, but I can't see him improving a whole tenth of a second if that's the gap that he's got in front of him. So he could find his way up into third position, maybe even a little bit higher. We know Goofball's quick. He was second in the Caterham series, I believe, at the end of the series there, and he was very quick in the DRMs as well. So Goofball is a very handy driver. He's just taking a little bit of time to get comfortable with the Super Tourist. He's up 0.06 of a second on his third, or is it second sector time? I don't know what these sector splits are doing.
His final sector, he's coming onto the straight, so if he maintains that, he'll actually take that third place from Resist, but looks like he lost all the time in that last corner, down 300ths when he came across the line.
Meanwhile, I think Berto's improved on his time once again because he's got a 1:13.134, which is blisteringly quick, and he's up a quarter of a tenth of a second actually, so 0.027 in the first sector. So he's improving marginally, and we've got Ziras back in third. So Resist is
Resist has hopped up over him, but I just noticed then Ziras he was 0.2 up on his first sector time. So
speaking of up, Berto is up on two wheels off the curbs, and I think that was Montreal. He's gone back into the pit lane there. So looks like these curbs are catching cars out once again. We saw that a lot in Oulton Park in qualifying in the early stages of the race. Some of the curbs are really striking and throwing the cars off the track when they got up on two wheels. So that's going to be something for all the drivers to get comfortable with as well. How's Sam Smith doing? He's down in fifth at the moment, going through the bomb hole kink, and he's making his way towards the end of the lap now. We'll see what his split times look like.
Yeah, this Coram corner, like you said, it's such a long right-hander. He's about half a second up on his personal best, but he's thrown it all away with an outbreak at Murray's, the final corner, and straight off the track. So he'll be, well, it's Sam Smith, so he probably won't be particularly upset about it, but I'm certainly upset. That would have put him up around the third place mark, and as it was, 2.2 seconds down on his personal best time when he did cross the line. So you can see there just snatches an inside wheel as he's about to start the left-hander. And I was just saying that Coram corner, the car naturally wants to move to the outside of the track at the exit of the corner, but you want to be as hard on the inside of the track as you can so you can make the left-hander into Murray's. It's a very tricky corner, and it's always a bit of a struggle.
It's such a difficult flip-flop of the weight balance of the left and right sides of the car, because you've spent a whole corner, that massive long corner, with the left side of the car loaded up, and all of a sudden you have to put the car on the inside of the track, jump on the brakes, and get that weight moved over to the right side of the car so you can turn into Murray's effectively. And it's a very tricky thing to get right, so it'll take a little bit of practice as Sam Smith is pulling out into the pits once again. Resist is looking to improve his time at the moment, so we'll see how he does. He's currently on the back half of the track going down the Bentley straight, and I'm not sure, I actually have to look at a map to see where these sector splits are because I'm not even 100% sure. So it's halfway through Coram is the end of the second sector, so it's not too long before the main straight. It's a very short
third sector is basically the last turn and the start finish straight.
Just taking a look at a replay now of Ziras, who locks up the brakes, and he has Greg Tara in front of him, so he has a little bit of a slide through Murray's there, and he's being held up as he goes down the main straight. He's got the lights ablaze very soon here. I think he's flashing the lights. He is trying to get Greg Tara to get out of the way. He'll be appreciating the toe down the main straight, Ziras will be, as he tries to jump on the inside, but traffic is always a consideration for qualifying, because there's every chance that you can have a very good lap thrown away purely by having a unfortunately slower car stuck in front of you.
Well, we've got 10 seconds left in the session, so anyone that isn't about to cross the line or is currently on a hot lap is not going to be able to register another time.
Ziras is in the lane, so he won't be posting on the lap time. He's currently third. That's the highest he'll be able to finish. Oh, Resist has gone off the track, and he'll be pulling it into the pit lane as well, so no chance of improvement there for Resist. Second and third
coming around the last corner. Sorry to cut across here. He's 2.5 tenths up on his personal best, which will be good enough to put him up into third place ahead of Ziras if he manages to hold on to it. It looks like he will. It was a decent exit off of Murray's, so I'd be surprised. And he jumps up ahead of Ziras into that third place. So Ziras has gone nowhere but backwards in this qualifying session.
So it looks like we've got two more cars out there in the qualifying session. Berto has all but secured pole position. Roadhog and Netherelmian. So Netherelmian is closest to the finish line at the moment. He's just going through the Coram corner now. Oh, we've also got Fruity Pink. So Fruity Pink's very close to the finish line. So he's locked up his final corner there, and he's about to rotate the car. So there goes that lap. That's going to catch out Netherelmian as well. He needs to try and get past him. So we'll see what sort of lap time these two can do as they come towards the finish line. Now, Fruity Ping is going to post a 122.68, and Nether with a 115.63, so neither of those drivers will be moving around, which leaves Greg Tara, the only car out on track at the moment, posting a hot lap, and he's finished up as well.
Yep, so it looks like that is all she wrote. So Berto will be taking home the pole position point again, something I forgot to mention. I think that's 2 out of the 3 rounds so far that he has taken home that pole position point. So he'll be very happy with that, and Resist will be quite happy to be starting alongside him on the front row of the grid.
So it's a great time there from Berto. It was a 1 minute 13.03, I think it was. So blisteringly quick, almost making his way into the 112s. So we'll have to see if he can improve that during the race when he has toes down the straights as well. And we know he's been fast. He's been getting fastest laps all through this series so far. And it's just a matter of whether he can stick to the front, because the only thing that's really been tripping him up has been unfortunate errors.
That is absolutely correct. We've just switched over into our warm-up session. So our guys will be getting out onto the track to do some practice starts and see how the cars handle the starts here at Snetterton. We might have a quick little pit stop ourselves. And I believe we've got a nice little feature on one particular corner of this track, much like we did for Oulton Park. So don't you go anywhere, we'll be back in just a moment.
It may not be visible in the Automobilista representation of this circuit, but for a long time, one of the most iconic features of the Snetterton circuit was the scary tree. Part tree, part nightmare fuel, the so-called scary tree occupied the hearts of many British motorsport fans, as well as the outside of Turn 2, Sear Corner, or as it was more recently renamed, Wilson Hairpin. However, as if 2020 wasn't enough of a dumpster fire of a year already, the scary tree was destroyed in a storm in February this year. Part of the European 2019-20 windstorm season, Storm Kiara was a powerful extratropical cyclone which tragically caused the deaths of 13 people, resulting in 500,000 power outages and caused £1.6 billion worth of damage, including of course the scary tree, which no doubt contributed significantly to that £1.6 billion figure.
Well, that was a bloody refreshing break and very interesting little feature by our main man Stairs in the production office on the scary tree down at Montreal Corner. So we're sitting in warm-up now. We've got about 8 minutes and 8 and 3/4 minutes to run before we start out on race 1. You got any predictions, Matty? How are you finding the runners so far tonight?
Well, it's all pretty close. I'm just looking at the qualifying results, and the top 5, were within a second. So it's still very, very close, and any one of those drivers could really win this thing, but I've got to make a prediction. And you know me, well, actually, I don't even know what I like to do for a prediction. Sometimes I go safe, sometimes I go dangerous, and the dangerous ones aren't really doing it for me lately, so I'm going to take another safe one for race 1, and I'm going to say that Berto is going to win race 1. He's very quick. He knows how to steer one of these cars. He's gotten more comfortable with it. And it's pretty tough to make race-ending mistakes around this track as well, because there's a lot of grass runoff everywhere. So even if he does fall off the track somewhere, he's not going to lose out a huge amount. And damage won't be as much of a consideration unless there's car-to-car contact. Madbird, what's your prediction?
Well, Greg Tara's just been disqualified, I've noticed. So
well, it won't be him at this rate then.
So that'll obviously be undone before the actual race start, but that's quite funny. I've got to say that Berto's probably the favourite. I do have someone I would quite like to win, but I've said several times that he will get a race win this season, and I don't want to put the moz on him any further, so I'm not going to say his name. I think. In
case you're wondering, folks, it starts with R and it ends with Assist.
Ziras, as always, is a strong contender. Goofball probably looking the most solid we've seen from him so far tonight. So I know he's been doing quite a lot of practice. So I'm gonna go with an outside bet, and I'm gonna say that Goofball Antics will take out the win here at Snetterton.
I like it a lot. As much as I want to see Resist up on the front there as well, I'd love to see any of these guys take the win. And we're just seeing them go through the Montreal hairpin for the first time, and Resist rear bumper has already been shredded clean off. So we're getting some body kits on the go immediately. We often joke about how some of these cars look like when they've lost a front or rear bumper. Especially the BMWs, you'll notice if they start getting into fender benders that it looks like they've put on really tacky body kits. So you can look forward to that as Roadhog gets spun around and absolutely nailed into the side by Resist. So that doesn't bode super well for the start of the race. But this is what this warm-up session is for, is to get these little pre-race jitters out of the way and to make sure everyone's comfortable with racing side by side around this track.
Yeah, that's the theory, is everyone gets their sillies out of the way with the practice starts, and then when we start for real, everyone takes it a little bit more seriously. But I guess we'll have to wait and see how the actual start goes. They've been remarkably clean so far this season. I've been quite impressed with everyone's racecraft on the first laps, as we see a nice slow motion there of Resist's rear bumper pirouetting through the air, getting taken out by Fruity Ping. Absolutely bloody beautiful.
Loving the use of the slow-mo shots this season. It's something I hope sticks around for a very long time. And we're just lining up for a second practice start now, and there's a few cars getting in it, not everyone though. I think Roadhog's pitted to fix the damage from being slammed into by Resist there, and he's back out into the race now. Where did Roadhog qualify? He qualified down in 9th position. So because that car is all-wheel drive, we saw it in the reverse grid race at last time out at Oulton Park. He started from 3rd and was able to make his way up into 1st with a bit of a margin before they even got to the first bend, purely because of how well that car can launch. So we'll see how he goes with a little bit of traffic in front of him.
Yeah, I think that starting from 9th might be a little bit of a hard ask for him to get too far up the field from that with that start. But who knows? We've seen that he's managed to slingshot his way past a few cars each time so far this season. I have noticed, sorry to cut across you there before you even started talking, that Joshua Bagsy in the Poker Racing Sweat team has joined the service. So he was held up a bit at work and missed qualifying, but he will be here for the race. So it's very nice to see that car finally out on track this season. We've
been looking forward to seeing that livery out on track for a while, haven't we? And it's great to finally see it here. He'll be the 12th starter of this race, which means he'll be starting from the back of the grid, I believe.
Yeah, it didn't qualify, and there were no DQs or anything during qualifying, so he will indeed be starting from the back. I guess we'll wait and see if that's where he stays. But that's good. That's an interesting flouting of the pit lane speed limit rules there by Goofball Antics. Hopefully he doesn't do that in the race. So Josh Bagsy seems to be having some issues turning right, coming out of his pit box. Got an inside camera view of his cockpit here. He's just slowly nudging the wall.
I think he's just taking a moment to reflect.
Wonder what he's just using it as a reason to stare at that particular person's jeans.
Speaking of staring at people, there's another one floating around on the track somewhere. I think we got a glimpse of him at the end of the qualifying session. He's at the exit of Nelson, the right-hander at the end of the Bentley Straight, just standing off in the runoff there with his arms folded, looking very disappointed. We'll probably see him if a car goes off there, as Bagsy makes a second and successful attempt to get out of the pit lane and take his first laps in the Picaro Sweat car.
Absolutely, he's out. We've got a replay here of him finally making his way out of his pit box, and this is the replay. Sorry, of him failing to leave the pit box. And here we go. So we see him. He's turning, and he's turning no longer because there's a wall in the way. So I would hazard to guess that he had. I know he's been having some steering wheel and pedal issues. Perhaps he had the sensitivity or the turn rate of his wheel incorrect, and thus wasn't able to turn enough. But regardless, he's out on track now, and that's the important thing.
Well, he's got 2 minutes and 10 seconds to get some laps in and start getting comfortable with the car. So, not a huge amount of time left for him, but I have faith in him. He's already rotated at this corner there that I was mentioning earlier. This is has he beached himself in the rumble strip?
He's beached himself on the big sausage curb at Nelson.
And that bloke's standing there in front of the fence just judging him.
Yep.
Ever so silently. So we're just having a replay now. He's just gone in way too hot, and that's another one of those left-right flip-flop weight changes that I was talking about through Brundle into Nelson, and it's just something you got to spend a bit of time getting comfortable with. That weight, and it's also a front-wheel drive, so he did pretty well to kick the back out there. So just a matter of getting comfortable with how the front-wheel drive car operates there under braking and also under steering.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's gotten any practice in. I know he's kept quite busy by his studies, but he does, of course, have the advantage of a lifetime supply of Picari sweat, which is the envy of all men, and women and non-binaries, obviously. So everyone loves a bit of Picari sweat, and we can see there Fruity Ping just showing his car off to the adoring crowd. It's
just getting as close as possible to the fans in the stands there by going straight off the grass here and into the Armco fence. So the crowd seems pretty stoked with it, actually. In fact, they're so happy they're frozen solid, they can't move. As we see a very nice slow-mo shot of the dust being kicked up as he makes his way into the Armco. And that's what we like to see here on Apex Rear Wing, just beautiful cinematography such as that, and you'll be seeing a lot more of it during the race, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's that livery for Fruity Ping is courtesy of Goofball Antics. The driver of that car was originally completely unrelated. Happened to be Cox, was the driver of that car. It was just an incredible coincidence, but it has now been replaced with Team Schnitzer, which is quite disappointing actually. We do have Sweat on the back of Bagsy's car here, and then on the front we've got Drink. So Drink Sweat is being astounded. So in the last time that Bagsy ran a Picari Sweat livery was in the Super V8s, and he did take out a win at Monza with a brilliant strategy call, while I believe Stairs was spectating and saying that his name was in fact Picari Sweat, which of course it isn't, it's Josh Bagsy, although he did ask Deedpol if he could change, and they said that Sweat is not a acceptable surname, which seems like discrimination to me. What about you, Matty?
Yeah, it just seems a little bit unfair, I think, because the man just wants to change his name to Sweat, and I can't blame him, really. It's brought him so much success in his racing endeavours, so I think that's a pretty poor move from the Deedpol office there, to be honest. We've just finished the warm-up session. Josh Bagsy was unable to set a time there. He was still giving it full beans on the back straight. And then I think Ziras decided to pull the pin on the session, or he's retired to the pits. So we have a race on our hands, folks. Race 1 is coming up very shortly. It's going to be 19 laps of the Snetterton 200 circuit. And we're just waiting for the cars to start appearing on the grid now.
And as you can see there on your screen, the front left will cop a hammering. Lots and lots of hard right hand turns following braking zones. So you've got the first corner is a pretty hard right-hander. Montreal is a hard right hairpin. Nelson is a pretty quick little right-hand kink, as is Bombhole. Of course, you've got Coram, which is that long sweeping right-hander that leads into the last corner, Murray's. So the tyre wear for the front left and the rear left, it must be said, may well come into this. So people that look after their tyres a little bit might end up paying dividends at the end of the race.
You can tell how much that left-hand side of the car gets loaded up when you can see the cars going through some of the corners and lifting the rear right wheel off the ground under braking. You'll see that wheel come to a complete stop every now and then when the drivers are giving it full welly into the corner. So that's always a sight to see. And we've got the cars lining up on the grid now. They're all lined up and they're just taking off now for the formation lap. Madbird, take us through the starting grid.
Thank you very much, Matty. So we've got Berto for TBA Inc. Leading once again in this season, taking out the pole position. Behind him, we have Resist in the Black Flag Industries Racing Honda Accord. I forgot that it was a Honda for a moment, but then I remembered behind him we have got Goofball Antics, best starting position so far this season, as is Resists, I should have mentioned. In the Scuderia Proton Anomaly Alfa Romeo, or Alfa Romeo, as I was mispronouncing it last week, Ziras behind him, starting from 4th, which we've got Resist pulled over by the side of the road, I've just noticed. So let's hope that he can get running back again. We've got Ziras in 4th, which is probably the lowest he's started in quite a while in Apex Rear Wing. Just went nowhere but backwards in that particular qualifying session. Brenton Foley in the PBF Race Engineering BMW.
Resist is back on the way again. Sorry to bump into you there, but I just wanted to say that Resist is moving again, so must have been a little bit of a control issue that he's worked out there. So good to see that he's underway.
That would have been the curse before the race even started. I didn't want that to happen to him. We've got Sam Smith for Tin Shed Racing in the Peugeot, starting from 6th. Greg Turra in that beautiful Repsol Racing Volvo, starting from 7th. Netherelmian for the Outworld Racing team in another Honda Primera. No, that is a Datsun. Starting from 8th position. Roadhog in that all-wheel drive Audi, starting from 9th. Tyrrell in his new Datsun rather than a BMW, starting from 10th. Fruity Ping in 11th in another less attractive BMW. And
in car number 11, if you look closely at the number sign on the side of that car, you'll be able to see. And we've got Josh Bagsy as well.
Yes, Josh Bagsy for the Poker Racing Sweat team, who has not set a valid lap so far, having only joined during warm-up. So that'll be interesting to watch. So we've got everybody lining up on the grid now. There's quite a big gap between the positions. You can see there, the rows aren't really rows. They're pretty much equal diagonal spacing. Looks like everyone is in their pit box. A couple of people just getting sorted. And the lights are on. So we are ready to go racing here at Snetterton. Lights are on. We got green flag and away we go. So decent start from Resist. Excellent start from Ziras, straight up the inside in that BMW. So that rear wheel drive getting a fantastic start off the line. Swooping straight through into 1st from 4th on the start of the race. We got Resist going around the outside. Goofball Antics trying to cape it up the inside. Manages to do so by the looks of it. And Foley having a look as well.
Very clean start from everyone so far. They're 3 wide at the back here. And there's a little bit of contact, but no one's around so far. So everyone's clean through the Montreal hairpin.
Resist has fallen down to 7th place. He went off at the on the exit of the Montreal hairpin. He's now down to 8th place, and he's got Nether all over the back of him. So that's a terrible start there for the older Ziras's older brother.
This will be the test here as they go through Brundle and Nelson to see how well they can all hold up as Brenton Foley goes off the track. We've got Greg Turra coming across as well.
Sam Smith got a little bit sideways. Greg Turra in the Volvo got a little bit hairy, but managed just to hold on to it. Resist has fallen behind, Nether is in 7th place. So he's now looking like he's driving a little bit angry, wants to recover. We've got a replay here just showing, the Volvo did quite well actually to avoid crashing in anyone. Speaking of crashing into someone, Resist straight into the back of Nether by the looks of it. Not sure whose fault that was, if anyone's at all. Meanwhile, at the front, Ziras has got a lead of 1.1 seconds over the the Renault Laguna of Berto.
Ziras doing what he does best, leading from the front. Goofball Antics is still up there in 3rd position, and Sam Smith has dropped down to 4th, with Roadhog currently sitting in 5th. So Roadhog, as a result of probably a lot of the chaos that's been happening on this first lap, has made up 4 spots. He's run wide at Montreal there. We're just seeing a replay of what happened to Resist, and he just got his entry into Murray's all mixed up. He lost the balance of the car and he threw it over the curb, so he hasn't really collected anyone there. That's just an unfortunate mistake that he's made. He is still in the race, thankfully. Mind you, he's down in 11th position, currently battling with Josh Bagsy.
Yeah, so that is not where he would want to be on lap 2, and all I can say is sorry. Meanwhile, we've got him leading ahead of Bagsy, which probably won't be the position that he wants to be leading in this particular instance, but it's better than nothing. Ziras coming around Coram for the 2nd time. You can just see the braking on those rear-wheel drive BMWs is so painful. You can see him locking up the entire way into that last left-hander. And you can see that Berto's sticking with him, as is Goofball Antics, neither falling away.
Yeah, so the gap is staying steady at about 1 second between those front 2 guys, and we've seen that Berto is able to hold the pace with Ziras, and he may even slowly start catching him as he was doing in Oulton Park. The gap is expanding out a little bit here at the moment. Not sure what the power differential is between those cars, but the straights may be playing into the advantage of Ziras here. as we see Berto trying to get a little bit of an edge through the Montreal section there, but nothing doing at the moment.
Yeah, we've seen so far this season that Ziras seems to have the pace over Berto, but Berto has an ability to just slowly chip away at time, which seems to rattle Ziras a little bit, which he's usually pretty unrattleable. So it'll be interesting to see if he manages to shake the beast again this time. Although Goofball Antics is no slouch, and he's keeping Berto honest at this stage. Sam Smith has rotated at the Nelson corner by the looks of it. He's stuck waiting for everyone to go past so he can rejoin the track. So Sam Smith rejoining down in 12th. So that is pretty much exactly what happened last week at Oulton Park. A very, very bad start for Sam Smith down at the back of the field.
What a shame. He'll be looking to stay in this race as long as he can, because we are paying points down to 10th position. So he'll be wanting to make up a couple of spots to try and get at least 1 point here after that, which is very unfortunate. But if he does finish the race, it also means he'll start very high up if he can't improve with the reverse grid race. So keep an eye out for that, because that's where Sam Smith did strongly the first time around. Oh, Ziras has had a moment at the Montreal hairpin and he's lost a lot of time. He's still kept it together. He's got it pointing in the right direction, but that gap has come down to 0.6 of a second between himself and Berto.
Yeah, they were struggling a lot during practice, the BMWs, and they did get it dialed in a little bit with some setup tweaks. But you can see they are still just struggling in those braking zones. Got very hairy, nearly rotated the car, but managed to pull it in. And Berto climbed right up his, well, proverbial in that particular braking zone. But looks as if the gap has stabilised once again. Ziras is stretched back out to about a second, not even actually, about 0.6 of a second. So Berto definitely not letting go of that bone at this stage.
We've got another moment back for Josh Bagsley, who's now dropped into 12th position, and he's had a spin at the Nelson corner again. So that one's really catching a lot of people out, isn't it?
It is. It's, as you said, it's that flip-flop of the car weight. You're turning a quick left-hander, and then suddenly you've got to slam on the brakes and get into a quick right-hander. It's the same as the exit of Coram, where you're going through a long right-hander and straight into a fast, sharp left-hander. He just completely rotated the car almost into the fence, but managed to keep it out of it. So very well done there, not to damage his car.
I'm starting to notice that Berto is catching up really quickly to Ziras in some of these slower corners, especially the Montreal section. That gap really comes down. I think that Renault Laguna is a lot better suited to cornering. Of course, we have the issues that we've been talking about with braking and getting that car dialed in, that BMW in those similar corners. So I think Ziras is able to pull away just a little bit on the straights, but Berto is able to claw it back on those tight bends. There aren't too many of those super tight corners on this track though. So they're about even slather as it stands at the moment. That gap is still staying about steady at 0.7 of a second, with Goofball Antics lagging behind to the margin of about 2.5 seconds, but still sitting in third.
Yeah, those two straights, the Bentley straight and the start-finish straight, are both quite long, so a tiny bit of advantage in straight line speed to the BMW can pay out quite a bit over the course of a lap. Resist, as Ziras sets the fastest lap of the race with a 13.4, nearly his qualifying time even. We've seen Resist has had another issue and has dropped back down to 10th place and is now squabbling with Sam Smith and Fruity Ping. Fruity Ping, who joined just in time for qualifying and wasn't expecting to be anywhere, has had cars around him the entire race thus far, so he's doing quite well to keep himself out of trouble.
Resist goes up the inside, makes contact into turn one, pushes them both a little bit wide, gives Sam Smith a great opportunity to come and join this battle as well. Is he going to try and make it 3 wide into this corner? No, he's not. He's going to tuck in behind Resist, follow that train through the Montreal hairpin, pull up alongside Fruity Ping, and they'll both get past. Well done there from Sam Smith, and also Resist, who finds his way into ninth with Sam Smith in 10th position, right on his back bumper.
Sam Smith often during a practice session on a race night he'll just park himself right up underneath your rear bumper and follow you for a good 15 minutes or as long as you'll let him. And I think he gets used to following cars very closely, as we see just then. He barely kisses the rear of Resist's car. And I remember many times trying to, practice some hot laps, and I've got Sam Smith up my chuff, and every single braking zone I think he's going to hit me, but he manages to pull it up. So he has a lot of experience following very closely behind other cars. Nearly gets it wrong, and he does, up onto 2 wheels, going through Murray's, but not onto his roof, luckily enough. There's
a very, very thick curve there at Murray's. We saw Resist bouncing off it earlier in the race session. And now Sam Smith as well, getting up on two wheels there and almost going over onto his lid, but able to keep it together. But he has dropped back 2 seconds from the back of Resist, so he's given Resist a bit of clear air behind him, and he's going to try and have a look up the inside of Tyrrell now into Montreal. And that was some great slow-mo action there as we see Resist going up into 8th position. So he hasn't recovered a huge amount from where he dropped back to earlier, but he is in front of that Datsun, and he's now chasing down Nether in front of him, who's carrying quite a bit of good pace. So there's a gap between those two of 1.4 seconds, and then up ahead of Nether, we've got a nice little battle happening for 4th position, and Greg Tara, I don't want to jinx him at the moment, but I am president of his fan club, and I want to say he's on track for his best race position finish in the Apex rear wing. He got his first points on the board last time out at Oulton Park with a 5th place finish, and he's currently sitting in 4th. So he's doing great so far in that Repsol Volvo. As Ziras posts another fastest lap, quickly beaten by Berto, a 1:13.388. So the gap at the front is narrowing down as well.
I was about to draw our attention to it, and then you beat me to it. As we see in the background, we've got Nether Elmian and someone else. I think it might have been Sam Smith going deep at the last corner. No harm done other than to their particular positions, in that Nether has dropped 3 positions. He was in 7th, so just that tricky braking zone at Murray's looks like it's caught him out, and just looks like completely locked up, skated straight off the track.
Yeah, a few of these cars are having that sort of issue where if you jump on the brakes too hard, you just can't turn the things. So you've got to really finesse the brake pedal into places like Murray's. And I'm just having a look now. Brenton Foley is all over the back bumper of Roadhog trying to get past him. I think he'll have a little bit more power going down that back straight there. And they're side by side as they head under the bridge into Brundle, with Greg Tara a little bit in front. Brenton Foley in the BMW is going to tuck up the inside. We'll see if he can make it stick through Nelson, and he does. Hits the apex, gets the runoff. Nicely done, Brenton Foley, up into 5th position.
That's about the cleanest I've seen Brenton Foley take those 2 corners so far tonight, so very well done to him. Meanwhile, Greg Tara has sort of cleared off out ahead. He's got 1.1 seconds and is clinging onto that 4th position. So very well done for him in only his 2nd race this season. At the front, looks like Ziras has... He hasn't been falling back towards Berto. He's managed to extend that gap out to about 1.5 seconds with 10 laps left to run.
So it's a very manageable gap for Ziras. It's what he normally likes to do, is just sit out in front and just plug away solid, consistent laps. And it looks like Berto isn't able to pull up and catch him this time around, because at Oulton Park we saw it was very, very close, with Berto able to make up the deficit in the corners that he lost on the straights. But because this track is just so power heavy with all these straights and this very slow corners, it's just eating into Berto's advantage just that little bit. He is still sitting solidly in 2nd though, and Goofball Antics is still doing very well. He'll be on track for his first podium. His best finish so far was in the first race at Silverstone International, where he got a 5th place position, and he's on track for a podium. Oh, yeah, Berto's gone off at the last corner. Sorry to interrupt you there, but he's lost a bit of time. So that's going to make it even easier for Ziras to win this race. We've got 10 laps to go, mind you, so we're just about reaching the halfway point. But that's Ziras posting the fastest lap as well with a 1:13.159. Berto certainly won't be beating that this lap time around, but now Goofball Antics is 3.2 seconds behind, so he's got a little bit closer. He's within sight, but not too close to him yet, as Brenton Foley is having a look up the inside of Greg Tara as they go down the main straight, but I'm not sure if he can get past him.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tight before the first corner. He thinks better of it and tucks in behind. Greg Tara doing very well, just consistently plugging away. Apart from that one issue we saw at Brundle and Nelson on the first lap, it doesn't look like he's really put a toe wrong. He's just putting in consistent lap times. Ahead of him is Josh Bagsy, who is a lapped runner. He did pull into the pits for some damage repair, I think. So that's unfortunate for Josh Bagsy, but at least he is here.
Oh, speaking of damage repair, Nether's just gone straight off into the fence at turn 1.
Yeah, he's still recovering by the looks of it. He manages to avoid those brake marker boards, which is nice for everybody else, but he is well and truly down in 11th place. And that car, oh yeah, he's got damage to the front left. That car was not turning whatsoever.
Yeah, so he's gone off once again, actually down at the Montreal hairpin, so he's definitely got damage to that car, and we'll probably be seeing him coming into the pit sometime soon to either try and repair that damage or possibly even to retire from the race. So it was a shame, because Nether was carrying some really good speed throughout that race session. Hopefully he'll be able to improve for race 2, but I think he'll be relegated to the back of the field, or at least into 11th position for the rest of this race.
So we Brenton Foley having another go at Greg Turra going into turn 1. Carries so much more speed through there. Can he get it to the inside for the Montreal hairpin? No, he can't, although he's going to have a go anyway. Ducks down the inside, a little bit of a tap of his nose on the back of that Volvo, which nearly cost him a lot of positions and time, but manages to not rotate the car and has to settle for staring at the back of that brick for a little bit longer.
Greg Turra was just rock solid through that, wasn't he? He didn't even try to deviate from his line. He wasn't trying to defend at all. Just stuck to his normal racing line and let it happen. And Brenton Foley just sort of got himself unstuck there. So great stuff from Greg Turra just to sort of stick to his line and just show that he's a perfectly capable driver, and he definitely belongs up in 4th position, maybe even higher as this season goes on. We'll hopefully see some podium results from him.
Nether swinging into the pits as we predicted might happen, so he might even come out in 12th place depending on how long his pit stop is. We've just had Roadhog having a little excursion off the track, which has allowed Resist to get through and into 6th place, so his recovery drive continues. But Roadhog is not far behind, so this could be a little scrap to watch in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, that Audi's proven to be pretty handy because we saw it drop back pretty quickly at Oulton Park and also at Silverstone, but it's able to stick into the midfield for quite some time. He's obviously made up 2 spots from where he started this race. He started 9th and he's up into 7th position, so he's doing quite well in that regard. And we're just having a look at the battle between Foley and Greg Turra. They're side by side. I think Greg Turra made a little bit of a mistake there through the Montreal section. Had a bit of a big lock up there and went wide, and that's allowed Brenton Foley past. Greg Turra is going to have the draft as they go down the back straight, and it'll be interesting to see if he goes for a move, but I think Brenton Foley's a little bit too far away. He has a peak up the inside, but he's not going to be able to get anything done here through Brundle. Maybe into Nelson. No, he's got a very tight line there, and he's thrown his quarter entry away. That's a shame. There's a gap of about a second in front of him now to Brenton Foley, and Brenton Foley will be very happy to see him vanishing in his rearview mirror. As we see a replay now of Roadhog falling off the track a little bit and Resist making up a position as a result. So that puts Resist up into P6, which puts Greg Turra in front of him at a gap of about 2.3 seconds. So Resist is slowly plugging away at this field, making some positions back up, which is great to see.
It is. Hope you're all enjoying tonight. Glad to have all your company as usual. While we've got a tiny little break in the major proceedings, why don't you go ahead and flick us a like and a subscribe and hit that bell, all those things that YouTubers say. Meanwhile, we've got Greg Turra is catching up on Brenton Foley. Doesn't look like Foley's run away with it. The gap is about a second, so he's keeping onto the back of the rear-wheel drive BMWs. We see a replay here of Tyrrell having a big off-track excursion. Currently sitting in 9th, Tyrrell, so he'll probably be pretty happy with that, considering that he DNF'd out of both races last round. Seems to be feeling a lot more comfortable in that Datsun.
Absolutely, which is always good to see. It'll be good to see him put some points on the board as well in that Datsun. So I'm guessing it'll be a full-time switch from now on, now that he's found a car that he can really mesh with. So we're just seeing, I think I've just seen Josh Bagsy rotate at Nelson once again. So he's almost stopped in the grass there, trying to get back on track. And Bagsy's just struggling. Of course, he didn't really have a chance to practice at all here, or qualify. So he's still trying to get to grips with that that Vauxhall Astra, I think it is. And it was the same spot as well, so he's struggling through that corner. He is 11th though, due to Nether's pit stop, so they are both on the same lap, but he is quite a ways down. He will still be classified once he... Brenton Foley has had a bit of a happenstance there, and he's going into the Montreal section. He's still ahead of Greg Turra, but only marginally. He's getting the back end out a little bit there as he exits the corner, and Greg Turra is going to try and pull alongside him. These two are getting very close as they go down the back straight, and Greg Turra has passed. Is he going to be able to stick in front as they go through Brundle and Nelson? They're going to swing into the left-hander right about now, and Greg Turra's got the line he wants. But he's tripped up a little bit. No, he's rotated the car. Brenton Foley's going to hit him, and Greg Turra's in the fence. He's lost a couple of spots there, and that's a huge shame.
Roadhog behind them has also gone off at the exact same spot, so he's off in the runoff at Nelson as well, so recovering as we speak. So on this particular lap, everyone just decided they wanted to go off there and have a chat to old mate that's standing off in the field. As we're just seeing here, Brenton Foley going wide at turn 1. So this was the mistake that let the Volvo of Greg Turra get so close, and then just a messy hairpin led to the Volvo being able to be side by side coming out of the corner. All this means that Brenton Foley, currently in 4th, but with Resist for Company directly behind him. Greg Turra now down into 6th after that error at the Nelson right-hander. So that's a shame for the Volvo, but still looking like he's going to hold on to some good points.
Resist is up in the 4th position as Brenton Foley's made a mistake into the Montreal section. So great recovery drive so far from Resist, mostly as a beneficiary of mistakes that have been happening in front of him, but still benefiting nonetheless. And Brenton Foley's already fallen back about 2.7 seconds, almost 3 seconds. Greg Turra, having made another mistake through Murray's at the end of the last lap, fell back even further. So he's about 4.5 seconds off the back of Brenton Foley. So they're starting to thin out a little bit in the midfield here. As we go back to the front, we've got 4 laps to go, and the gap is 1.2 seconds. So Berto is still plugging away at around about the same rate as Ziras is at the front, but just isn't able to catch him. He's caught up a little bit, but just not enough. It'll be interesting to see what he can do in these last 4 laps.
Yeah, and Goofball Antics just seems to be, I'm not sure how much of it is just not being as quick as the 2 front runners, and how much of it is just probably Goofball being a bit of a wise old head on, well, old shoulders, and thinking, you know, I'm just going to keep myself calm, keep myself on the track and bring home a podium position here.
Well, Brenton Foley's gone wide at turn 1 once again, and he's lost a little bit more time, so he's having problems there at that corner. He may be starting to wear that front left tyre down. Obviously, when you go through turn 1, it really loads up that front part of the car on the left-hand side, so these tyres will be copping a beating, as we talked about at the start of the race, and that we may be starting to see the effects of that now, especially with these BMWs. But Ziras has been able to hold it together quite well.
Yeah, Ziras has been in clean air the entire race, I guess, so he hasn't had the issue of cars ahead causing downforce issues. But he is also the one that set up the BMW in such a way that it wasn't hurting so much going through the braking zone. So maybe he's dialed it in just a little bit more than the other BMW users.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised there as Berto tries to catch up a little bit through the Montreal section once again, but Foley is off once again down at Murray's, so Foley's really struggling with that car, and he's going to have to be careful not to lose a spot to Greg Turra here as they get towards the dying stages of this race. We're going to see a replay now, just going through that long right-handed corner, jumps on the brakes, and he just overshoots his braking marker. Oh, he gets up on 2 wheels there and almost touches the fence on the way through, so that could have been a lot bigger than it was. And he's very lucky to get out of that one unscathed. Oh my God, look at this at the front. Ziras has made a mistake somewhere. I'm not too sure. I'm going to have a look at the replay. You just keep commentating there. I want to try and see what happens here. But it's super, super close at the front.
Yeah, Ziras all out of shape coming into Murray's. He's managed to hold on to the first position so far, but Berto is right on his tail, about 0.2 of a second, as they come down the start-finish straight towards the first turn of Riches. Berto's not going to have an opportunity here. Best point is probably going to be the Montreal hairpin. Here we go.
Here on the replay, he ran wide at Nelson and went to the grass. He didn't slide out or anything like that. He just got a little bit wide, and Berto very nearly passed him on the spot, even rear-ended him almost. And now we've got a very, very hot battle at the front here. The gap is academic. Berto's up the inside, touching his rear quarter panel, trying to pull up around the outside through the exit of Montreal, but nothing doing. Let's see if he can get a good drive out of that corner and try and pull up alongside him. He'll have the strategy, he'll have the benefit of the draft. He's slowly clawing back that margin by hundredths and thousandths of a second. He's having a little bit of a peek up the inside. Is he going to have a lunge? No, he's not. He's going to tuck back behind. That would have been a very daring move indeed, and he's not going to try anything into Nelson, but he's going to touch him on the way out. They're very, very close. I think that Renault is a lot faster through Nelson than that BMW is, so keep an eye out for some of those other similar corners like Bonghole, and also through this long right-hander here that I've already forgotten the name of. It is Copperham indeed, folks. So they're just jumping on the brakes into Murray's now, and Ziras is locking up those brakes quite a bit, so I think he's starting to crack under the pressure just a little bit. There is 1 lap left to go in this race, folks, and this is a cracker that we're seeing here at the front. Berto is 0.3 of a second behind Ziras, and there's 1 lap left to run.
Yeah, they haven't half made it the end exciting for us, have they? As Berto follows behind the ZB Racing BMW as they head on down to Montreal. Berto looking like he's going to go for to the inside. He does. Ziras trying to drive around the outside. He gets a little bit sideways. Berto's through. Can Ziras get a decent exit off of that corner onto the Bentley straight? It looks like no. it's going to have a little bit more pace down this straight compared to Berto, but if he doesn't get this job done before the Nelson and Brundle corners, he's going to go for the inside. Is he going to go he thinks better of it, ducks out of it, and trying to put Berto off, I think. Berto locking up a little bit. Ziras all over the back of him, gets out onto the curb, but he is not able to get that position done, and I think this is what we're seeing here is Berto winning this race at the absolute death, because Ziras is not going to have another opportunity unless Berto messes up coming into the left-hander of Murray's. Bagsy, the lap runner, trying to get out of the way as Ziras and Berto both come through. Berto keeps it together coming through Murray's, and he is going to win this race.
Oh, that was almost a disastrous end there. It's going to be so close at the line, but Berto is going to cross the line to take first position in race 1 here at Snetterton 200, with Ziras right behind him in second. Goofball Antics is going to take his first podium of the season as well, crossing the line in third. Well done for Goofball there. Great result from him.
Yeah, Resist is going to recover into 4th place, which after his start in second, he probably will be pretty gutted about, but still 4th is better than 12th, which is where he was at one stage during the race. So very good recovery there from Resist. We've got a battle for 5th place on the last lap of this race. We've got Greg Turrer in the Volvo with Sam Smith basically bump drafting him the entire way down the start-finish straight. Greg Turrer in the Volvo is going to bring home 5th. Very good work from him, and Sam Smith is going to come home in his starting position of 6th. With Roadhog in 7th. Tyrrell coming across the line to record an 8th place finish, which he'll be very happy with in his new Datsun. And Brenton Foley, who at one stage was at the lofty heights of 4th place, finds himself finishing in 9th after a messy end to the race. Fruity Ping, who out of all of the drivers tonight has the least experience in these cars, is going to bring home a single point in 10th place, as we see Berto absolutely destroying that BMW.
So all of the points finishers have taken, all of the finishers have taken all of the points placings, with Josh, Bagsy and Netherelmian finishing 1 lap down each in 11th and 12th respectively. And we've got the podium sitters coming into the box now to have a chat to us. So I'm going to start with Goofball Antics, who finished 3rd. It's your first podium of the season, mate. Well done. You started to get a little bit more comfortable with the Alfa Romeo?
I think it's just more the track, but I'm slowly figuring the Alfa out. Actually, I think I'm just slowly figuring out 4-wheel drive cars. But yeah, did a little bit more practice this week or the last few days than what I usually would, so that certainly helps.
So you'll be down at the back of the grid or thereabouts for the start of the second race. How do you fancy your chances of cutting through the traffic and getting up to the front?
Oh, you know, I just got to force my way through, and in my experience in the last few weeks, and not take no for an answer.
Well, that's what I like to hear, mate. It'll be very, very good to see what you can do in race 2. Congratulations again on your podium. We're going out to Ziras, our 2nd place finisher. Ziras, stolen at the death. What happened there? We saw you were starting to struggle with the car a little bit in the later stages with a few more lockups. Is that what was happening? Do we start to see some increased wear on the front left there?
I wouldn't necessarily call it wear, just that the car didn't stop into the hairpin. So Berto could see me, and I could see him lining me up for a few laps into the hairpin, and that was where he was faster. So it was textbook really, except for me going sideways, but never mind.
Looked a little bit scary there at the last corner, actually, when you had Josh Bagsy, the lap traffic there, trying to get out of the way. Did you worry that the race is almost going to finish disastrously there?
I yelled at him, and luckily he pulled off. But yeah, a bit of poo came out. I did have a mega start too, so that was extremely helpful, and my pace in the early stages was a lot faster than I expected. So it was interesting how it worked out in the end. Congrats, Berto, that was awesome.
And congrats to you as well, mate. 2nd place, you're on the podium once again, and I do believe you'll still be leading the points as a result. And we go now to Berto, our race 1 winner. At the death there on that last lap, as we were just talking about. So it looked like you were getting more comfortable with that car as it went through the hairpin. Did you know all along that the Renault was strong through that Montreal section?
Yeah, strong through there and strong at the end of the back straight, but the car went completely off on me in the middle of the race, so had to make a few roll bar adjustments, and then it absolutely came on strong in probably the last 5 laps. So yeah, we're closing him down, and if it wasn't for those couple of offs, no chance. We would have been second by a mile, but fortunate that Ziras made a couple of mistakes.
Yeah, we were making note of the fact that you was very slowly, you were maintaining a gap at around a second and a bit for most of the race, and then you just all of a sudden the car hooked up at the end there, as you were just describing. So you're going to be right at the back of the field for the start of the second race here, of course, with the reverse grid format. How do you think you're going to go through turn one? Are you going to take it easy? Or are you going to try and steal a couple of spots in those first couple of corners?
Turn one will be interesting, but it's more the hairpin and the switchback. Look, you pretty much have to take it easy, I think, to get through there alive and without putting the car on its roof. So, yeah, take the opportunities if they're there, but also, yeah, I'll live to fight another day.
You certainly will, and you've got another win on the board. Congratulations, mate, and congratulations again to all of our podium sitters here in race one. Madbird, we are getting ready for a reverse grid race very soon.
Yeah, we absolutely are. I do need to say a big sorry to the man that I didn't mention the name of because obviously, yeah, I think nothing more needs to be said. We're going to have a quick little break here as we get set for the reverse grid race, but don't go anywhere. We will be back very soon. See you then.
It may not be visible in the Automobilista representation of this circuit, but for a long time, one of the most iconic features of the Snetterton circuit was the scary tree. Part tree, part nightmare fuel, the so-called scary tree occupied the hearts of many British motorsport fans, as well as the outside of Turn 2, Sear Corner, or as it was more recently renamed, Wilson Hairpin. However, as if 2020 wasn't enough of a dumpster fire of a year already, the scary tree was destroyed in a storm in February this year. Part of the European 2019-20 windstorm season, Storm Ciara was a powerful extratropical cyclone which tragically caused the deaths of 13 people, resulting in 500,000 power outages and caused £1.6 billion worth of damage, including of course the scary tree, which no doubt contributed significantly to that £1.6 billion figure.
Welcome back, everybody, to round 3 of the Apex Rear Wing Season 9 BTCC Championship. This is Madbird, joined with Maddie Dunlop here in the commentary box, and we were just treated to a fantastic viewing experience, as we can see on our screen here, D-Samaj, who pulled out just before the race began, but he is clearly having an absolute whale of a time viewing our particular broadcast. So thank you very much for sending in your fan mail, D-Samaj. We very much appreciate it. My goodness, he's a handsome man.
He certainly is, and it's great to see him in the broadcast with us at the moment. As we've got a few other people, if you're watching along, jump in the comments, say g'day. We want to hear from you because we love putting on this show as much as I'm sure you guys love watching it. We want to know just what your thoughts are on the races that are happening so far. Just any suggestions, any comments, critiques of the driving standards that you're seeing? Nah, the driving standards have been fantastic. We were just commenting earlier about how it was a really clean race that we were watching for race 1. Now that we're going reverse grid for race 2, that might flip things on its head. Well, it will flip things on its head in terms of grid order. And we're just seeing now a graphic coming up on screen for the Snetterton 200 circuit that we are on for round 3 here of the season. We're going to run through the entry list once again as the cars start peeling out for another warm-up session. So Resist, who is the driver that the commentator's curse is being afflicted on, mind you, is here. Goofball Antics and Berto, of course. Ziras and Netherrealmian racing with us. There's a couple of guys who are on this list who won't be with us, unfortunately. Tyrrell is not in that BMW. He is now in a red and white Datsun. Dan Smith is still going strong in that Peugeot. Bagsy is struggling to get to grips with that Vauxhall there, as D-Samaj, as we saw earlier, will not be racing with us tonight. Brenton Foley had an unfortunate race there at the end with Roadhog as well, making up a couple of spots from where he started, so it was a great result from him. As we're just seeing Brenton Foley going around the third sector now, just trying to get some trying to get more comfortable with that BMW, and he's gone wide at Murray's, almost very close. It's a tricky corner there, Murray's, because you're expecting it to be a lot wider at the exit there, being the last corner of the circuit, and you're expecting there to be a lot more runoff as well with what is a very fast left-hander there. But yeah, it catches you out, doesn't it? As we see Sam Smith being caught out, doing what he does best and taking out road signs.
Yeah, seems to have something against road signs. I believe we've got Sam Smith's mum and dad in the chat, as we usually do. Tell us, did something traumatic happen in Sam's formative years to do with signage, that he perhaps has some sort of complex regarding them? Yes, Murray's is definitely a tricky corner. It's that long right-hander. Your car wants to move to the outside at the exit of it, because that's usually what you would want to do with a long right-hander. But you've got then immediately a very tight left-hander, as we see Foley having an excursion in the background there as Sam continues his sign-destroying crusade. People have answered your call, Matty, in the chat. We've got Paul Cranich, our mate Pablo, saying, "Dear God." I presume that was in response to Desamaj's lovely mug. Got Andrew Milne saying, "Great first race, wish I was there." We have got Rob Smith saying, "Sammy, if you want to go out on track, you need a 504 like the one we had before you were born." My goodness.
Well, he's on the black stuff now, and he's not taking out any more signs, or is he moving over to the other side of the track? That's exactly what he's doing. He's moving to the other side of the racing surface to finish the job that he started the last lap around, and make it really difficult for people like Bagsy to try and get laps in where there's no marker boards on the side of the track. What are you doing, Sam Smith? There'll be a little bit of an argument there, I'm sure, because Bagsy, of all drivers, is really trying to... What's he doing? Sam Smith is pulling off, specifically aiming for those traffic cones there, which I'm sure is not going to achieve a huge amount. But good on you, Sammy. If that's what floats your boat, then I'm not going to stop you, mate.
He's having a whale of a time. We've had some news come through that Netherelmian has requested to start from the rear of the grid for the reverse grid race. So despite finishing last on track in the first race, he will not be beginning on pole. He is requested to start from the back of the grid. So that is something. So it will actually be Bagsy starting out the reverse grid on pole, which he probably was not expecting when he got in just in time for the first race.
So Nether's just basically pushed him off the deep end, pushed him off the edge of the pool into the deep end there, and he'll be starting on pole position in his second race back in Apex Rear Wing this season. So we'll see how that goes for him. And we're just seeing a few of the other guys coming out now. We're just over halfway finished with our warm-up session. Fruity Pink's pulling out of the pit lane. Berto's out there as well. And never mind, warm-up session's done. Or we've had a glitch of some sort because the clock's reset.
Yeah, it looks like we skipped over some of the warm-up session. So we're jumping straight into race number 2.
So another 19 laps here for race 2. It's a reverse grid race. So the running order, we had no DNFs last time out, so the running order will be reversed based on the results of the first race, with the exception being that Netherelmian has requested to start from the back. No success ballast, no safety car, nothing of the sort, so pure racing here at Snetterton. 3.2 kilometres, 8 turns, so it looks pretty simple, but there's quite a few tricky corners here to wrap your head around. And it's clockwise, so a lot of those fast corners, and even some of those hard left corners, those hard right corners, I should say, are going to be chewing into those left-hand side tyres, as we're starting to see the cars forming up on the grid now.
Yeah, so a lot of very hard and fast right-handers, so those, we don't have that particular stat up there, but left-hand tyres, left fronts in particular, will take an absolute hammering around this track. And we saw towards the end of the first race, Ziras was just struggling to get stopped in time for the hairpin in particular, but there's more than one of those corners on this track. And it looks like everyone is on the start-finish line, getting in their grids. We've got a couple of people flashing their lights.
Goofball's flashing his lights and blaring the horn as he always does. He's raring to go. The rest of the drivers are raring to go. The grid is set and we are away for the formation lap. So Josh Bagsy, in his second race back this season, will be starting from pole position, as Nether has requested to start from the back. Fruity Pink in the number number 11, Team Schnitzer car, is starting from second position on the grid, with Brenton Foley up into third as a result of that poor race that he had in race 1. So, can Brenton Foley capitalise early, get out the front and push away a bit of a gap? We'll see what happens there. Speaking of pushing away a gap, we've got Tyrrell in the Datsun in P4, hoping to push up and keep that momentum going from the last race and get some positions up on the board. Roadhog, starting from 5th, will probably find himself up into 3rd or 2nd by the first corner, given how well that Audi can start. Sam Smith is in P6, so he's, in terms of the regular front runners that we normally see, he's one of the furthest ones up the front of the grid at the moment, with Greg Turra in that gorgeous Repsol Volvo behind him in 7th position, as they all duck and weave, get some last-minute heat into those tyres as they go around the back half of the circuit. Resist, who Madbird absolutely annihilated with the commentator's curse in the first race, and I'm not going to let him forget that, is in 8th position, as he spent a lot of race 1 in before he finished 4th. So it was a great finish there for Resist, but he's back down in 8th again. So this will be another test of his ability to cut through the field and get some high positions up towards the end of the race. Goofball Antics, first podium of the season. Last race, finished 3rd, means he'll be starting from 9th position here in the Alfa Romeo, the Scuderia Proto Anomaly Cup. Ziras, who just had the race stolen from him in race 1 and is currently our championship leader by, I think, 3 points. So it's getting pretty close at the moment. So Ziras, yes, it is 3 points the margin at the top. Ziras will be starting from 10th position. Berto, the winner of the last race, will be in 11th on the back row of the grid. And Netherrealmian, having finished the last race in last position and having requested to start from the rear of the grid, will be starting from the rear of grid in 12th. They're all starting to get some last-minute heat into those tyres, ripping a few burnouts. A few of the guys at the front are ready to go. They've all formed up in their grid spots. We're just waiting for the last couple of cars now. Nether will be the last car to form up. The tension is starting to rise. The carts are set. We're just waiting. The revs are building. The lights are on. And we're underway. Josh Baggsy gets away and immediately covers to the left-hand side to stop Fruity Ping from getting ahead of him. But Fruity Ping's going to try and move to the inside. Brenton Foley's ducking to the inside as well. Going to try and make up a couple of spots there. Baggsy's got the whole shot at the moment in the Picari Sweat car. Brenton Foley's made up a spot into P2. And we've got a couple of cars running wide through turn 1 there, but for the most part, it's pretty clean. As Goofball Antics goes into the fence at turn 1, he's shot right off into the tyres, and that's disastrous for Goofball Antics.
Yeah, he hasn't had too much luck in the reverse grid so far this season, and that obviously will not be improving his thoughts on them. Meanwhile, at the front here, we have got Brenton Foley alongside Josh Baggs heading down into Brundle, as he's actually taken first place before they've hit the corner. That's going to make a very tight turn into Brundle though, but it looks like he's managed to pull it up, and so Brenton Foley now clear in first place. Sam Smith up 3 positions in 3rd place himself.
Brenton Foley did well there to pull it up into that corner. As we see, Goofball Antics got turned around by Tyrrell, so we just got caught up in some unfortunate biff and barge there off the start line, and I think that must have been a racing incident. I don't think there was anything malicious there or anything of the sort, but it was just very unfortunate as Sam Smith gets 2 wheels on his wagon up in the air and drops a couple of spots there. So Sam Smith has fallen down to 5th position. He'd made up a couple of spots already. Ziras is already up to 3rd after 1 lap. He's gone from 10th up to 3rd. He's up 7 positions, and that was a replica of what we saw in the first race, which was just an unbelievable start from Ziras, and he's carrying on that tradition once again. Meanwhile, at the front, Brenton Foley already has a gap of 2.2 seconds as the train is starting to form behind Josh Baggsy with some very tight manoeuvres being attempted here. There's a bit of biff and barge between Roadhog and Greg Turra, and Roadhog takes to the grass a little bit there to compensate, but Greg Turra is still sitting in 7th position as we stand.
Yeah, the term cork and bottle were in my mind heading into that Montreal hairpin with Josh Baggsy in front of that pack. Ziras has now broken free. He's now got Fruity right behind him for company as they narrowly avoid hitting each other. They don't avoid hitting each other though, they being Greg Turra and Berto. Berto giving Turra a side swipe coming through Nelson for his troubles. No problems there. It looks like no harm, no foul. Everyone still pointing in the right direction, and Berto with a lead of about 2.8 seconds as they come across as they're about to cross the start-finish line for the start of the 3rd lap.
That's Brenton Foley, who's got the lead. He's posted a lap of 1 minute 14.76. That is currently his best lap of the race so far. Not sure who's got the fastest lap at the moment, but we'll find out in due time as some of these cars start pulling apart. Josh Bagsy trying to pull a spot back from Sam Smith there at the front, just defending as hard as he can. Sam Smith is alongside him on the run down to Montreal. They're bumping doors, rubbing mirrors. Sam Smith jumps on the brakes. Tiny little lock-up, easy as you like. Fruity Pink tries to go up the inside as well. We're seeing a little bit of action through that section as well with all the cars behind. Everyone is still pointing in the right direction, and Sam Smith is in the podium spots in 3rd position. Josh Baggs is falling back to 4th, and he's got Fruity Ping right behind him.
Berto's lost a couple of positions. He was up ahead of Greg Turra. He's now dropped back to 8th, so I'm not sure what happened there. He's now all over the back of Resist as they come into Brundle. We've got a big lock up ahead. I believe oh my God! Oh, it's chaos! Oh, it's chaos at Brundle and Nelson. I just saw a big plume of smoke, and then there were several cars, all of them mostly stationary, going into there. So good luck to Stairs trying to get some competent replays of that.
Greg Turra's retired from the race. He's got thick black smoke coming from that engine, and he's still parked up there. So that was a big impact from Greg Turra. Yeah, look at him there. He just nosed straight into Fruity Ping, and that's race over for the Volvo, which is very unfortunate to see. As a result, Fruity Ping is down to 11th position. Josh Bagsy's down to 10th. Tyrrell's in 9th.
So it looks like Fruity Ping sort of sideswipes Greg Turra going into the corner, then spins out. Bagsy ahead has had a completely separate accident all by himself, and then Greg Turra and Fruity Ping's accident then caused Resist and Berto to check up behind them. Not sure if that was Fruity Ping being ambitious or Greg Turra maybe trying to stick his nose where it didn't belong, but regardless, he's come out the worst for it and has DNF'd out of this race, as you did say. And the rest of the people that were tangled up in that, Resist is now in 4th place. Berto's in 5th, just ahead of Roadhog. And who else was involved in that? Josh Baggs has dropped back to 10th, Fruity Ping back to 11th. So, my goodness, that's probably the messiest accident we've seen so far this season.
That corner, I tell you what, I wasn't expecting it to cause as much mayhem as it is, but geez, it's been on fire. Ziras has a bit of a moment there into
Foley had a big moment coming out of Murray's. He just got it all out of shape. Now him and Ziras in their respective BMWs almost side by side going down the start-finish straight. But Foley has basically eradicated the advantage that he had at the front of the field. Sam Smith just set the fastest lap of the race, and he is not too far behind these 2 rear-wheel drive BMWs. As we see there, Foley just taking an excursion on the track. He kept his foot in it. He didn't lose much time considering how big the accident was. But you can see there, Sam Smith in that front-wheel drive Peugeot is just lurking in the back, watching these two and hoping that they're going to take each other out coming up and into Brundle. But it looks like Ziras has got the job done.
He got the pass completely done purely on the draft down that back straight there, and he's going to be alone. It'll be a single file for these two guys as they go through Brundle and Nelson. Brenton Foley is still right behind Ziras at the moment, but we're going to probably see Ziras start to pull out a gap as he normally does. We'll see how Brenton Foley can do now. He's up into those high positions, and we'll see if he can just stick with Ziras for a while. And also we'll be able to see what Sam Smith can do. He's down to just under a second behind Brenton Foley, who has a bit of a slide there. He's got a huge lockup, so he's still struggling with that final corner there. It's losing him a lot of time, and Sam Smith is now within touching distance.
You can see here Berto was chasing down Resist and just got a little bit didn't pull up in time for Nelson and took an excursion on the outside of the track. Tyrrell with a drive-through penalty, so I'm not sure. The only thing that can be for is for corner cuts, because he hasn't exited the pits or anything like that. He hasn't sped in the pits. So the only thing I can think of is that he's gotten a corner cut penalty, which on only lap 6 of 19, that's quite surprising.
Yep, that's exactly what's happened. I just saw it. He got it as soon as he came off Murray. He's just gone a little bit wide on the exit there and had messed up his exit of that corner. And I'd say because of all the chaos earlier on as well, he just got accidentally caught up and thrown off the side of the track here and there, and it just triggered a few track cuts. And that unfortunately means he will have to serve a drive-through penalty, and he will lose a lot of time as a result. Sam Smith up in third place is all over the back of Brenton Foley. So Foley hasn't been able to stick with Ziras, and now he's under threat from the Peugeot of Smith behind him. He's got that carrot in front of him, folks, and boy, let's see what he can do with it. Oh, there's contact there. That's not a place where you want to be touching another car, because that could end disastrously. Wow, he ducks up the inside there. Is he going to make it stick? He is for now, but Brenton Foley's got a wheel up the inside. That'll be the outside by the time they get to turn 1. But they're going to be side by side. It's a drag race down the main straight. Sam Smith is just still marginally behind. Brenton Foley is technically up into second place. And he's made it stick. He's got back in front. That's unbelievable. I think Sam Smith just conceded there because he was just slightly behind him, but Sam Smith's going to have plenty of opportunities to try and make his way back up there. Trying to be careful not to make too much contact, but there's a little bit of a bump there through the Montreal section. This is a great battle that we got here. Going on for second as he kicks the back end out a little bit there on the exit, Sam Smith.
Yeah, absolutely. That is that move through Coram was never on, but he somehow managed to make it stick. And Sam Smith's the sort of racer that in a 50-50 will always be the gentleman and duck out, because he knows that there's always another opportunity just around the corner. Especially we saw Brenton Foley in the first race. He was struggling a lot towards the end of the race. Same distance as this race, as we know. So towards the end of this race, it stands to reason he may start to struggle again, and Sam Smith will have plenty of opportunities. Before our broadcast started, Sam Smith's father, Rob Smith, as Brenton Foley goes off at Murray's, so he's going to have a terrible run down the start-finish straight. Here is that opportunity that I was just speaking about. He's trying to swing around the outside, coming down into the first corner. I think he's already got the job done. He's already ahead as they come down into the first corner. Brenton Foley has a little think about diving down the inside, but thinks better of it. Sam Smith up into second place, but straight off the track. And Brenton Foley follows him in sympathy. Luckily, nothing horrible happened.
So we do have another DNF as it stands at the moment. Tyrrell, having decided to retire from the race, means we have 10 runners left. Or has he got damage, actually? We're just having a look at a replay now. He's nosed into the fence at that tricky Nelson bend, and I think he's gone straight to the pits after that. So Tyrrell has indeed had an accident after he's pulled out of the pits from that drive-through penalty, and his race is done. So 10 runners left here. As we see, we've got a couple of battles that are raging at the moment. Oh, Roadhog is under threat from Goofball Antics. He's made up a couple of spots from that crash earlier on. He doesn't seem to have too much damage, thankfully for him. And now he's right behind Roadhog.
Yeah, Roadhog in that all-wheel drive Audi seems to be struggling a little bit. He goes straight off the track, coming through Bomb Hole, and they're now going through Coram. Goofball Antics just seems to have a little bit more pace than the Audi, as Roadhog does not look comfortable going through Murray's, whereas that Alfa Romeo is just completely planted and stable. And Goofball Antics, with an incredible run out of Murray's corner, has already got the job done before they hit the start-finish line. Roadhog sensibly pulls in behind. Might be able to have a go down into the Montreal hairpin, but Goofball Antics just seems to be, well, he got a podium in the first race. We know he's quick, but he seems to definitely have the measure of Roadhog at this instance.
So they stay line astern with Goofball Antics up ahead of Roadhog as they go through the Montreal section here. And Berto is currently the fastest man on track, up ahead in 5th position, having just posted the fastest lap last time around. It'll be a little bit of work, of course, before he can catch up to a few of the drivers in front of him. The gap to Resist directly in front is just about 2 seconds as they go through Brundle and Nelson at the moment. And Goofball Antics...
That's been yo-yoing like nothing else. Berto's been catching up, and then pretty much every lap he's been having a braking issue at Nelson and going off into that runoff area. So he seems to be struggling to close that gap down on Resist, and Resist just seems to be pretty happy to sit there in 4th and wait for Foley ahead of him to fall off the track, because Foley is driving ragged at the moment.
Resist is also having an issue with his steering wheel. So we were talking about that at the end of the last race. The reason why he dropped out, or dropped to the back, I should say, is because he had issues with his steering wheel on his sim rig, and that was what he was trying to sort out in the formation lap before the start of race 1, and those issues came back to haunt him, which is why he dropped back. He did a great job to recover to 4th in that last race, and he sits in 4th as well in this race as well. So hopefully those issues don't come back to bite him once again. And yeah, so Resist is currently going pretty quickly at the moment, and hopefully he can stay up there in that pointy end of the field.
That's a good shot. They all seem to be pretty equidistant heading down the Bentley Straight. Sam Smith is actually slowly closing that gap on Ziras. It was about 3.8 seconds last time I looked. It's now 3.4 seconds or thereabouts. So he is slowly closing it in, but I don't think that Sam has got the raw pace, and it has actually dropped back out to a 4-second gap. So I don't think Sam has the pace to challenge Ziras for the win. As behind them, we've got Foley getting all out of shape going through Coram Corner, and he is now side by side with Resist as they exit Murray's. That BMW should, in theory, have the legs over the Honda Accord. down the start-finish straight, but the Honda had a much better run out of Murray's and takes third place going into the first corner. Now Brenton is going to have to worry about Berto right behind him in that Renault.
We know Berto's quick. He had the fastest lap briefly. Ziras has just taken it back last time by, so Ziras is now the fastest driver on track once again with a gap of, what is it, 4 seconds at the front there. So Ziras is pulling away like nobody's business. So at the moment, we're focusing on this battle for the last spot on the podium for third position, and all three of these drivers have a really strong fighting chance of finding their way up there. Brenton Foley's ducking and weaving. He's trying to have a look up the inside. He's not going to have a look now. Oh, he tries again, but that's not really where you want to be passing, especially in that volatile BMW. We'll see how they go off the exit of that corner, and they're all still line astern at the moment as Berto drops back just a little bit.
You could have thrown a beanie over the three of them there for a little bit. They were so close to each other you couldn't fit a cigarette paper between them. Brenton Foley in that BMW seems to have a much better drive coming out of Nelson, but he just has so much trouble getting it stopped for Nelson that he can't really take advantage of it. He might be able to take advantage of a much better run through Murray's though. He's already got his front wheels alongside the back wheels of that Honda Accord of Resist as they head on down towards the first corner. It's going to be an aeroplane crash if they try to go side by side. Brenton Foley touches as they go into the first corner, spins himself. Luckily doesn't spin out Resist, but he does lose fourth place for his troubles. That
was completely Brenton Foley's wrongdoing there, unfortunately. I had to say, for whatever reason, he turned in on Resist from the outside, made contact with him, and just undid himself there. So he only has himself to blame for that one, unfortunately. And thankfully for Resist, he is now up into third position, having done nothing wrong there, and he's reaping the benefits of that. We're just seeing a replay now of what happened.
So this was what dropped him back into the clutches of Resist, his big accident, or his big slide through Coram Corner, which led to Resist managing to get past him into turn one. He has now dropped back to fifth place, as we were just saying, and Resist having to worry about Berto trying to take that podium place away from him. But Resist seems to have, if his wheel is continuing to be an issue, he has hopefully sorted it out, because he seems a lot more comfortable this time around than he did last race.
Yeah, he definitely seems to be soldiering on through any issues that he may have, and he's still sitting in third position at the moment. He's got a lot of work to do to catch up to the guys at the front. 5.4 seconds is the gap to second place Sam Smith, with a further 4.4 seconds ahead of Sam Smith to Ziras at the front. So it's a very lonely first and second at the moment. This battle for third still has the potential to turn up on its head, with Berto all over the back of Resist. We saw Berto was strong in the first race, of course, and stole it at the death, and there's every chance that he could steal third place here from Resist. We've got 6 laps, I believe, just over 5.5 laps actually to go. We're on lap 13 as it stands, and we're just trying to see at the moment. So Berto's maybe having a look. Oh, there's been a few people trying to make moves there, but it's really not the place you want to do it, is it, Madbird?
No, it's not. If you try to sneak up the inside there, then you're going to absolute aeroplane crash.
Sorry to butt in, but Brenton Foley's fallen off the track once again, and he's well out of this battle.
Oh no. So Goofball Antics actually looking quite good for fifth place at the moment, considering he's behind Brenton Foley, which you can usually promote yourself into whatever position Brenton Foley is currently occupying. Berto with a much better run out of Murray's, by the looks of it, he's about 2/10 behind Resist. He's gotten into this position a couple of times so far this race, but hasn't been able to actually make the move stick. So for Resist's sake, let's hope he's got his defending goggles on and can see in his rearview mirror that Berto's probably going to have a go down into the Montreal hairpin. And actually, no, thinks better of it. So Resist locking up a little bit, but still managing to mostly not horribly miss the apex. And coming out onto the Bentley straight, the gap is about the same as it was going into the Montreal hairpin.
Berto will have that draft though, and he's going to try and get right up underneath the rear spoiler of that Honda Accord. He's having a look around the outside, maybe trying to try a different sort of maneuver here where he sticks to the right-hand side. They're side by side through Brundle. Oh! He spun! Oh, the gamble has failed drastically for Berto. He may have reached himself in the gutter there. Brenton Foley's going to take that fourth place back, and there was very nearly contact there, but that's a huge loss for Berto. Up into fourth position, trying to make his way into third, and it was a bold move. It was a very bold attempt, but it just didn't pay off, and he very nearly threw his whole race away there.
Yeah, as we're saying, almost exactly a lap beforehand, trying to go side by side into those two corners. is never going to end well. It's always going to end in tears, and we see a replay here from the onboard of Berto, so you can see why he thought he had a chance. He had so much more pace coming down the straight, but Resist was still ahead. Resist doesn't even look like there was too much contact there. Berto just maybe got out on the marbles a little bit and rotated the car and did quite well to get out of the way just in time before Brenton Foley came around that corner. It was a near thing though.
So we've got 5 laps to go in this race now, and it's going to be a very, very hard ask for Berto to make any of those spots up, unless some of the guys in front of him make mistakes, which we hope doesn't happen. But now we're seeing the closest battle at the moment in the front half of the field, at the very least, being between Goofball Antics and Brenton Foley, with that gap being just under a second. So I'd say Goofball Antics is within touching distance of a draft, and Brenton Foley, of course, has been having troubles with his BMW around this track. So Goofball is pretty comfortable with his car. We may see a late or unexpected swap of positions between these two. So keep your eyes on that. Resist, meanwhile, up ahead, has very comfortable cushions of 5 seconds apiece in front and behind him in 3rd place.
In the chat, we had Pablo just saying that this track looks familiar. Last time we visited Snetterton for a championship race was in Season 4 in the Super V8s in round 5. Ziras actually took the win on that occasion, so he's got form here. 2nd place man was Disamaj, who has neglected to join us this evening. Except obviously to watch and enjoy our fantastic broadcast. And Bagsy actually came in 3rd place on that occasion. So a very different podium as it stands.
Yeah, so Bagsy currently circulating down in 9th position. Still in the lead lap as it stands at the moment, so that's an improvement from where it was last time out. And
still bringing home points.
He is still bringing home points, that's exactly right. And you could pick up a couple more here. He's not too far away from Fruity Ping, about 1.5 seconds ahead of him, so that could be a battle into the later stages of the race.
I fear that if the field remains as it is now, in the post-race interviews when I asked Sam how his race was, the word he's going to use is probably boring. He's currently got 7 seconds to Ziras ahead and 6 seconds to Resist behind, and he's just sort of in no man's land. He's too quick for the guys behind, but too slow for Ziras ahead. So still sitting up in a 2nd place podium position. He can't be too upset with that.
Well, speaking of boring, that's definitely not what you're getting here, folks. We've got a battle for 4th place shaping up now between Brenton Foley and Goofball Antics. I've just been watching Brenton Foley in that BMW. He's just been getting tripped up at some of those corners like Nelson and Murray's, and he's sideways through turn 1 just a little bit. He couldn't get all that grip down, so that slowed him down drastically. Goofball is right behind him. He tries to outbrake, but he locks up a little bit, and there's no moving being done here. Let's see what sort of drive Goofball Antics can get out of the Montreal section down the back straight.
Yeah, it looks as if he had to get out of the throttle a little bit just to avoid Brenton Foley at the exit of the Montreal hairpin there. So he's actually not going to be in the position to make a move here at all. Brenton Foley with a few car widths, car lengths even, but he gets all out of shape going into Nelson, but manages to pull it up. So it's actually looking increasingly unlikely that something's going to occur that lets Goofball Antics up into that 4th position, as we've got a replay here of Brenton Foley just, that's some deja vu. I've been in this place before, driving there from Brenton Foley that we're used to, so very well done to hold on to that through turn 1.
That was one of the best saves I've seen in a long time. That was a fantastic effort from Brenton Foley, and I look forward to seeing that on highlight reels for as long as I'm commentating on Apex Rear Wing. Please make that happen, Stairs. We're going into turn 1 once again. Let's see what he can do. Oh, he's sliding just a little bit. He's just losing so much grip through turn 1. I reckon that's just become part of his regular driving style.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, after you. I was about to just fluff it up with if he makes up into the podium, I'll have to ask him about that. But he's in 4th position at the moment. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, all of this, Brenton Foley having some fairly scary driving and giving us all a heart attack has all reaped rewards for Berto, who's right on the back of Goofball Antics now, with Goofball unable to capitalise on his better pace than Brenton Foley. Berto all over the back and actually gets out of shape going through Brundle and then off the track at Nelson. So Berto just not having any luck at that complex this race. He just seems to be coming unstuck there on more laps than not.
1 minute 13.201 is the new fastest lap from Ziras as he crosses the line to start the final lap of this race. He's got a gap of 8 seconds behind into Sam Smith. So it's very, very difficult to say that the result of this race is in doubt as it stands. I'm treading very carefully and trying not to inflict any commentators' curses because I've definitely had a history with that. But we've got the current podium as it stands. Ziras in first with a gap of 8.2 seconds down to Sam Smith.
Brenton Foley, sorry, just again, deja vu. He has been in this place being turn 1 before, higher than his tire temperatures as he almost rotates going through Montreal while I try to plunge my way through the lyrics of deja vu, but we're relating to Snetterton racetrack, which is more difficult than you'd think. Berto now right on the back of Goofball Antics as they come down the straight. Brenton Foley was absolutely defending clear air. Berto going for the inside, going into Brundle. He's tried this before. Goofball Antics, a little bit of door banging with Goofball Antics going through Nelson, but he's managed to hold on to it.
It's only taken him 38 race laps over this weekend, but he's finally made that move stick, and Ziras has crossed the line to win this race with an average speed of 154.7 k's an hour. Sam Smith crosses the line in second to take second position, and Resist has overcome Madbird's commentator's curse, and he will finish on the podium in race 2.
Absolutely fantastic drive from Resist to take that third place position and defend from Berto. And Brenton Foley, who comes home in 4th place, manages to hold on to it despite all of my bad Euro beating. Berto coming home in 5th place, getting that position from Goofball Antics on the last lap. Roadhog is going to cross the line in 7th, which I believe is where he's finished the first race as well, so he's only consistent. Fruity Ping is going to come home in 8th place, so that's some solid points for a man that has barely driven these cars. And Joshua Bagsy is going to come home in 9th to bring home a couple of extra points. Oh, is he? He's straight into the fence, but he's going to recover to the track in 9th position, so he's going to get some more points for Poker Racing Sweat Team. And Netherrealmian DNF'd just a lap ago, so he will be classified in 10th place for that 1 point. So very well done to him. Of course, our DNFs, Tyrrell and Greg Tara.
So that was a very eventful race too. Please support the stream, folks. Patreon.com/Apex Rear Wing. It's a bit of money and a lot of effort to get these races and broadcasts up and running, so we do appreciate all the help you can give. And Madbird, you've got the podium sitters in the box with you right now.
I do. So let's start with the man whose name I didn't say at all during the broadcast, Resist. Managed to find your way up onto the 3rd step of the podium for the reverse grid and did some fantastic defending against some pretty intense pressure from Berto behind. How'd you find that race, Resist?
Had a lot of practice from race 1, I guess. So that put me in good stead for the reverse grid, working my way back through the field, knowing when opportunities are there and when they're not. And then, Berto at the end there was scary. And then, obviously had a little touch. I'm not sure. We'll have to go back and review it and see if there's anything to be done about that. But for now, I'll take the 3rd.
Absolutely. It looked pretty... there's that word again. It looked pretty clean from our perspective. Just maybe got out on the marbles a little bit and rotated himself. What did happen during the first race? Was it that with Ziras was saying that you had a wheel issue and that you were struggling with that throughout the race? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I think it was a force feedback reset, and I did it, and it still felt wonky. So, like lately, when sessions change, I've been having to unplug and replug my wheel back in, and that usually fixes it. But it didn't seem to work for race 1, so that's alright. I've dropped down the back of the field and worked my way back up to 4th, so can't be too angry.
Now, some very decent points finishes at Snetterton for both races 1 and 2, and another podium for your tally. How far away is a race win, do you reckon?
Depends how often you keep saying it.
It's a very, very fair point. Well, congratulations again, Resist. No worries, mate. On to our 2nd place man, Sam Smith. You had all the support in the world from lovely Rob and Sue in the chat. Mate, how did you find the 2nd race there?
The same as last week, so I'd get all my rubbish out in the first race and then have a clean race for the second.
You seem to be sort of in no man's land. You couldn't quite close the gap on Ziras, who just was consistently pulling away, and everyone behind you was sort of tussling for that 3rd position, so it didn't bother you throughout the race. Were you just relaxing into a groove?
I was actually concentrating. So that first race, I couldn't even remember where I was on the track. So that second time I was really concentrating properly, and yeah, as a result, I actually got a consistent lap time.
Excellent. So something to take away for future races is concentrate, I guess.
Yes, think.
Fantastic. Congratulations on your
and practice as well. I haven't practiced at all. That's always a down.
practice and concentrate. So for any aspiring sim racers out there, practice and concentration, both very important. Congratulations on your second place, Sam, and I believe you're still in third place of the championship, so very well placed.
Super.
And Ziras, redemption from the first race, came home to win the reverse grid. You had a mega start as you did in the first race, and it all seemed to just go onwards and upwards from there.
Yeah, that was the story of the race, wasn't it? It was just got a mega start again because Beam is just brilliant off the line and managed to take easy positions, I guess. And then from there was just sitting down and pushing out the same lap time.
Was the BMW that much of a handful in the end? I know that during practice, yourself and Brenton Foley were struggling a bit with it, especially with the braking zones. Did you end up dialing it in with the setup and getting to a place where it was pretty comfortable?
A little bit, but also just found you had to be on eggshells on the brakes wherever you were. So that's why I wasn't so strong into the hairpin, I guess, on the first race. It's because I couldn't put the brakes on properly. But around the harder bits, yeah, just breathing on the brakes, and that got me around. So I wouldn't say it was a stable car by any means.
Fair enough. But hey, you came home in second and first place, so that is actually 2 from 3 races in ARW League history at Snetterton that you have taken out the top step of the podium. You took it out back in the Super V8s in your lovely Ford Falcon.
Rad.
Rad indeed. So currently leading the championship by 9 points over Berto. How do you feel going into the next round at Brands Hatch?
Berto's fast. He's on for a win streak at some point, so I wouldn't count anyone out of it yet.
Good stuff. Thank you very much to all of our podium sitters, and congratulations again to all of you for your finishes today. Matty, how did you find the races tonight, Matt?
Oh, geez, that was chaos in that second race, wasn't it? It was unbelievable. I think Stairs will be able to tell you this as well from my last couple of seasons. I always try and pinpoint that one corner on the track, whatever track we're at, that catches everyone out. And it turned out to be the Nelson bend here at Snetterton, which looks pretty unassuming. But that left-right flick just really gets you, doesn't it? And there's another one at Murray's as well, of course, that caught a few drivers out. And I love seeing tracks like that can really just throw you for a loop. Even if you're super experienced, you've got plenty of experience and practice in. And just that unpredictability has been fantastic to watch, but it's also great to see Resist get a good result in. He's on the podium once again, and Goofball Antics, of course, is on the podium for the first time. So it's been good to see a couple of drivers take their way to the podium. One driver who wasn't on the podium in that last race was Berto for the first time this season. So it's his first non-podium finish. And as a result, I think he's actually fallen back 11 points according to the spreadsheet I've got in front of me. So it's a gap of 11 points, 81 points for Ziras and 70 points for Berto. So that championship gap has widened out a little bit, but as Ziras himself said, anything can happen, can't it?
Yeah, it definitely can, especially when you've got a track like Brands Hatch next time out, which is incredibly tight and squirrely, and got a corner that I affectionately call the Terrifying Kink. So I'm very much looking forward to watching everyone try to tackle that. That will be next week here on a Wednesday at approximately 8 p.m. Central Time. I'm just sort of going on and on now, aren't I? So I will be running that show that night. So go easy on me, please, because we'll only have the one screen and we won't have Stairs' fantastic production going on in the background. But we'll see you then. Tonight, I've been Madbird.
And I've been Matt Dunlop. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
See you then, guys.